but I've seen all the shows, and I'm really proud and quite excited about being part of this.
Yeah.
I saw some of the guests that you've had here, phenomenal. Some of them are mentees, brilliant people. So I can't wait to have this conversation with you today, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that's where I wanted to start actually. I know like you are a very handful man. Like you can be in more than one places at once, through your book, through your work. And I think there are people that are actually longing to have your time, whether through mentorship, whether through speaking. And what has made this invitation appealing to you? And I'm asking this question because I want to attract more or invite more people of your caliber, but I want to see what is it that I got it right. Because to me right now, it feels like a luck.
Yeah. So I think the lineup of speakers, right? Some of the conversation. I think I really loved the conversation you had with Wiki Zilimpani. I loved that.
Yeah.
There was a guest that you had recently. That and I felt that was really good. I think there's the guy that said, I don't really want to go and get debt for about 2 million rands and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That conversation,
Yeah.
right? And I felt like these are the conversations that I want to have. I want to have conversations like this, because these are conversations that affect normal people. They affect the regular Joe on the street, and I want to have those kind of conversations, right? Most people, when they talk about money, when they talk about stuff that relates to purpose, it's always stuff that are very high level and high ended kind of things, right? So I just want to have regular conversations, and bring even difficult topics, right, to the level that people will understand.
Yeah. And for some audience here that doesn't know who I'm sitting with today, I'm going to go through your bio. Thapelo Jonas is an inspirational speaker, author, pastor, and a human capital expert, widely recognized for his inspirational content on Monate Breakfast Show, Lesedi FM. Do you still do that?
Well, I don't do that anymore,
Yeah.
but that's the show that I've done for 5 years. I did that for 5 years straight. Most people, would remember that just before 7 o'clock, news in the morning, there was a voice that would always go and say, "Kinta taba shanyana ya ring, uyetseditse uhlola." So I used to be that guy. I did that for 5 years, but I'm not doing that anymore. It's not something that I'm doing now anymore.
He holds an honors degree in business management and a BCom marketing degree from the University of the Free State. He is a husband and the father to 2 handsome boys. Man, before we start getting to this level of life, please take me back.
Yeah.
And I know that your history is recorded online in different interviews as well. Came across a lot of them actually, or where you are speaking about it. Briefly, take me back. What are some of the things that transpire in your childhood that shape the person that you become today?
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you learn around home that make you angry enough to actually wanting to get to this point?
Yeah. So I think it's really not so much about how I grew up. I grew up like very normal. I had a very normal kind of childhood, right? Like many people, I had I was raised by a grandmother that really loved me. A grandmother that taught me that every child must go to 3 places. You go to school, you go to church, and you come home, right? And I grew up quite well, But when we are speaking about money, when we're speaking about my wealth story, right? My wealth story is a love story. Specific. It started in 2006. I find myself in Kimberley. My very first job when I arrived in Kimberley, I was a corporate lecturer. So, in my previous life, I had an IT background. So I was hired to do a job to lecture, programming, to lecture, IT related stuff in Kimberley. And whilst in Kimberley, right, at church, I meet a girl that just blew my mind away. I met a girl that just took my breath away, right? And that was where my life started. So when I met my then girlfriend, I've said this before, that I really didn't want to be rich. I just wanted to feature in her future. But I couldn't feature in her future as the man I was. A lot had to change, from the person that I was, right? I had to become somebody totally different. And, that led to one major decision. At 23 years old, I said to myself, I'm going back to university, right? I'm going to university to go study. I'm going to go and do an undergrad. I want to do my honors degree. And I literally say to her as my girlfriend, I'm like, I can't marry you right now, right? I need you to wait for me for 5 years because I cannot feature in your future as the man I am, but you've got to allow me to go back to school, right? Before I ask her this question, I drive from Kimberley to Bethlehem to go speak to her mother, right? About that decision, right? And I'm asking her, I'm like, I know you don't know me. I know that you don't have the reason to trust me, right? But I love your daughter. I want to spend the rest of my life with her. And if you really can just indulge me and just be patient with me, I know that I can make her, the happiest woman alive. And my mother-in-law, right, says to me, boy, I don't know you from a bar of soap, but I believe in the man that is in front of me right now. And that just gave me so much hope, right? And so much so that I tell people when I was at the University of the Free State, I don't even know where people go and hang out for fun. Because when I was there for one reason. I had a girl that was waiting for me at home, right? Who I'd promised that I was going to marry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that decision in 5 years, I do my undergrad, and so I just wanted to do my undergrad, but at the end of our undergrad, one person gets a bursary to do an honors degree, right? I was one of those people that were given a bursary to do an honors degree, right?
Yeah.
And then when I got it, I literally took that decision. I took that opportunity. I basically studied my very first job, right? And so I see where we are right now. But my very first job, I know how it is to go work literally and still live like I'm a student when I was making a salary, right? A salary of somebody that could buy an apartment and do all of these kind of things, right? And because I was learning about money around that time, because I was now reading books, I was reading Warren Ingram, becoming your own financial advisor. I was, I was learning how to invest. I was learning how to save money. I saved every cent, right? I lived in a communist, living like I was a student, even when I was making 22,500 rand. When I was making 25,000 rand, I was still living like a student, right? I saved my money. And in 2013, the 30th of November, I married that girl. I made her my wife. That very same year, 2013, I bought my very first, house, 1.5 million rands, worth of a house. We bought the car of that year. I took my wife to Mauritius for honeymoon, right? It just began to happen for me, right? So what I'm trying to say is my wealth story is a love story, right? It started really as just me wanting to feature in her future, but I couldn't feature, in her future as the man I was. I took a decision to go back to university. I went to university, studied 2 degrees, started working, and every opportunity I've had has always been as a result of education, right? And not only formal education, but education that I had, literally just gathered by myself. And I'm really a big, avid reader. I love reading books, and I've always just really loved reading. And it made me become quite better, right? In understanding money. And money became the subject that I really, really just loved. And even to this day, right? We are 18, 19 years together with my wife. I married her. We're 12 years married. And we've got 2 beautiful kids. My sons are really, really just a joy to be around. I'm an entrepreneur now. We've got a couple of businesses that are doing quite well, right? We are in the student accommodation market. We're doing quite well. We've got a book that's also still doing very well on Take a Lot now, right? So we're doing a lot of things now, right? But it all just started from a decision that I just really want to feature in her future. And that particular decision really just resulted in where we are right now, where we just this big thing, that everybody else is in awe of.
Yo, TJ, I want to go back. That's a lot of things, and there are a lot of things that I can actually unpack there. And you will forgive me if I skip some elements that you deem as important, because I actually have an agenda with this interview. I have
cool.
an agenda.
It's cool,
But I
man.
want to go back on that story. What is it? What is it that propelled you to actually want to change than actually forcing yourself the way you are in that situation? On her side, was it? Is it a self-inflicted standards that you put that probably I cannot be with you in this image, or because you are like this, I then have to change?
Yeah, so here's the thing, man, and I think it's important for people to really understand this, right? And I love the word you just used now, self-inflicted standards, right? When I met her, when I looked at this particular person, she possessed the kind of life that I wanted, right?
yeah.
I was just an ordinary boy from Thapelo. I grew up, many of you guys who obviously know, I come from Thapelo. I was just an ordinary boy. But for the very first time, I saw somebody, right, presenting with a life that I wanted, right? And that became my standard. And standards are really, they're not objective, they're subjective, right? It's things that you set for yourself,
Yeah.
right? And I say this all the time. I say, look at your girlfriend right now, or look at your wife, right? Look at your bank balance, right? What you have in your bank account. Look at where you live, right? The suburb you live in. Look at the car you drive. Right? All of those things, right? They are just expressions of standards. This is what your life demonstrates as the standards that you've accepted for your life. The rest of it is just lullabies that we use to rock ourselves to sleep. Everything that you've accepted as a standard in your life is what's showing, right? And so she represented a standard, right, that I wanted to literally elevate to, and I couldn't. Literally for the life of me, I felt like I couldn't just really be that particular person as the man that I was. So what I'm saying is, in front of me, I found somebody, right, who presented, or who represented, a dimension of my life I wanted to climb to.
I love that. And I want to go back to what you said, that some of the things that we see around, the places we're in, the cars we are driving, these are subjective standards,
Yeah.
right? Can you please make a difference to someone that has probably forgotten that this is not like my destined standard?
Yeah.
Because I want to go back to when you say, even when you're earning 22,000 and a half, you're still living in student accommodation, or you're still living a very humble life, right? And someone can mistake that as for like, I now don't understand what TJ is saying. What was happening in your mind during that time? Probably that can be an answer, that this is the standard that you have chose for yourself, or you are heading somewhere else. I don't know if I make sense.
You are.
Yeah.
You are. So the truth is, the difference between where you are and where you want to go, right? That's called ambition, right? It's called ambition. From where you are right now and where you want to go. But what happens is this, and this is where many people miss it, right? That particular distance can only be closed by action, right? In other words, there's certain things that you must do, right? So it is not enough for people to, want certain things. And I think when I tell my story all the time, everybody else looks at what I have, they look at the things that I've done. They don't look at, me admiring someone, or me admiring a standard I wanted for my life, and literally having the courage, right, to say, I'm going to step in the direction of that which I want, right? And so what I'm trying to basically say is, everybody wants nice things. Everybody, right? Everybody wants nice things. But the truth is, we must tell people, even on this particular podcast, we must tell people that the difference between the people that get those things and people that don't get those things is that those that get those things literally gather the courage to say, what requisite actions must be taken for me to get to that particular place, and they move in that direction, and eventually they get those things because they took action. So action is what separates losers from winners, right?
Yeah.
Action is what separates winners from losers. And if you want to be a winner, you must be action orientated. And even to this day, I am still as action orientated as I was when I started out. And that's what people should really take from the story that I tell.
And this answer, that the answer to the question that I'm going to ask, might be found in some of the things that you have said, but I'm going to ask it anyway. There's a line that I came across when I was researching you. By the way, researching you was the most fascinating thing. Yeah, I think, I really enjoyed it. It made me feel like I'm back in the university, Yeah, because it was so amazing. I read, I came across this line. First, we make decision, and
Yeah.
then decision make us.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the top, maybe let's say top 3 decisions that you have made, that have made the person that you are?
Oh, so man, I love this question. It's so brilliant, and I love it when people just do the research, right? And such a good question. Number one, the decision to marry my wife was one of the top decisions that I made, right? Because many people don't really understand this, right? The person you decide to spend the rest of your life with can either make or break you, right? So you must become selfish when you're choosing the one you want to spend the rest of your life with. So that first decision, right, is one decision that catapulted me into the stratosphere. Number two, the decision to go back to school, right, at 23, when I had to compete with 18-year-olds that had just finished up with school, and I'm like, no, let me go and compete with kids, even though I feel like I'm a bit old, right? So going back to school was that particular decision, right? And the third one is when I started making money, right? I embraced frugality, right? Frugality is, and even today I still feel like I live like I earn half the money that I make, right? Everybody else thinks that I'm balling or I'm really lavish, but the truth is I still live like I am making half the money I'm making. Why was that important? That was important because I wanted to delay gratification. So the third decision was learning to delay gratification early on. So the question that you had asked is the top 3 decisions: the decision to marry my wife, the decision to go back to school, right, at 23, and the decision to delay gratification, right? And those 3 decisions have really, cumulatively, they've contributed to the man that I am today.
You've been in relationships before you meet your wife, right?
Yes, I was.
I don't know. Like, your wife might not like this question, but it's for the context of education. I think you might have an idea how a wrong partner that you probably could have stayed with might have led you.
Oof.
And there's someone that is currently with that person.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. Like, what are the signs?
Oh,
AJ? What are the signs?
oh,
What are the
man.
signs that I'm in a wrong ship here?
Oh, bro. I think if I knew you're gonna ask this kind of questions, I would have prepared better, man. I would have prepared better. I love these questions. These questions are very, very important, right? And I say this all the time. When you are in the room with somebody that makes you feel like you are the man, you are in a wrong relationship. And I'll explain what I mean, right? When you are the steering, when you are the alpha and omega in your relationship, when you don't see anything above you, right? When you are with somebody that doesn't push you, to become more than what you are right now, you've got a problem, right? And so here's the thing, and this is the part that is very, very important. I say this all the time. When I met my wife, I knew for a fact that she was out of my league. When it comes to marriage, when you're making a decision about who you're going to marry, please don't go below you. Marry somebody above you. Marry somebody above you. Why? Right? Because, and this is the part that is very, very important. And we say this all the time, that if I'm the average of 5 people that I hang around with, right, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with this particular person, right? So chances are, right, I might just end up in the same level because I don't have anybody that pushes me. One of the things, and I'm speaking my own experience, people might literally fight me on this, and I think it might be one of the most contentious part in...
You get fought every time.
Yeah, it's going to be quite contentious. But the truth is, and I'm speaking my own experience, my own experience is marry somebody above you. Marry somebody that you can always, you always have to, you always have got to raise the flag. You've got to go higher, right? And that's how I felt every single time. And today when I meet with people, with my peers, people that I grew up with, people that, know where I come from, they look at me and say, what happened? Right? Because I'm a different man. And what happened to them, they're still in the same places because the problem with many men is that they don't want to be challenged, right? Nobody else wants to be challenged. They don't want to be in a relationship with somebody that stretches them. They want to be in relationships where where they're comfortable. Nothing grows in the presence of comfort. Nothing grows in comfort. Nothing. Right? Every form of growth happens only in the early of discomfort. Right? You want to be in a position where you are uncomfortable. Right? So you have got to be comfortable with your uncomfortable. You've got to be comfortable with your uncomfortable scenarios for you to be able to grow. So what are the signs? The signs when you are with somebody that literally somebody that looks up to you. When you're with somebody that looks up to you, and you they don't push you to become better, right? I feel that's a red flag for me. That's a red flag, right? Even to this day, I still have conversations. My wife asks me this question. She used to ask me this question when I started. She's asking me even today to go, where are you taking us? Where are we going? You have to have somebody that asks you those kind of questions. Where are we going? Where are we in the next 5 years? Right? Our biggest target right now is to buy 70 units in the next 8 to 9 years. 70 rental properties, and she wants to find out how are we doing this thing? What's happening? Right? So we in this constant evolution, right? We are becoming better all the time. And that's because I just have a great wife, man. I have a great wife, right? So please, if you've got a good one, that's awesome. But I've got a great wife. I've got a wife that pushes me. And for me, the first red flag is if I'm with somebody that doesn't push me, right? If I'm with somebody that doesn't affirm me, and really push me to the next level of my potential, then I'm in a wrong relationship, and that for me would be a red flag.
Yeah, no, I love that so much. As an author, you are an author of Made to Win.
Yeah.
I think one of the factors that went into my maybe thinking pattern when I was gonna write a book was to first realize the need for me to write this book. I was like, I'm gonna put up this book, but I know it answers to this where I feel like it's not being answered. For you, like, what was the propelling factor for you to write this book? I mean, we have financial books,
Yeah.
but you saw a need to put yourself in.
Yeah.
Why did you put yourself in with this book?
So everybody that has read, Made to Win, especially, if you look at the subtext, there's the 9 irrefutable laws to win the money game. It's what I found out by experience, and it took me so long. It took me so long to figure it out in my own experience that I wanted other people not to struggle with it, right? I wanted other people to really just look at my story and understand the context of my story. So one of the very first things you'll see in the book, if you've read the book, you will remember one of the very first things I speak about there is discovering your ignorance.
Yeah.
Right? You have to. Many people know what they know. Like they know, like I know.
Yeah.
I know maths. I know science. I know this and I know that. Right? Most people don't know what they don't know. Now, a man by the name of Bishop Tudor Bismarck said to us many years ago, he says that every man's gaps exist around 3 or 4 things. Number one, most people struggle because there is an academic gap, right? So you'll realize that you might need to go back to school for you to be able to change your life. Number 2, there's a gap that also exists, around skills. In other words, the reason you are where you are, right? There is a shortage of skills that you don't have. Number 3, right? There's also a gap of relationships. So you might not have the necessary or the requisite relationships, right, to take you to the dimension of life that you want to get to. And the 4th one is money. And the problem with money is that most people don't understand this. Most people who don't have vision, right? Because vision problem always masquerades as if it's a money problem. Most people that say that, the reason why I'm not where I am, it's because I lack money. You'll find that those problems, when you scrutinize those problems, you're going to find out that those problems are really just vision problems. So when I studied that, I said to myself, right, so what happens? These are the gaps that I have. Now, what is it that I need to do? So number 1, I said, let me go back to university. I went to university to go get 2 degrees. When I was working a job, right, I'm 8 to 5, and I was doing well in that particular job, I realized the mistake with many people, especially people of our culture, right, is that they go to work and come back from work. And I said, that's the dumbest thing you can do. Don't go to work and come back from work. Go to work and come back to work. And so that changed my life. So what I did was I didn't go to work and come back from work. I went to work and come back to work. So what I did was, and that's where the coaching came into play. And I realized that if I'm speaking about multiple streams of income, I had to go learn how to coach. Now today, in this year, the year 2025, we had 140 students in our academy, in our Made to Win Academy, right? Each one of them pay me on average about 750 every single month. Literally I've got students in Saudi Arabia, I've got students in the UK, I've got students in the Netherlands, I've got students in New Zealand, I've got students in Lesotho, I've got students everywhere. Now, my biggest thing is I needed to learn how to coach because I had to leverage. So now I went to work in the morning, 8 to 5, I did that. And now I had an 8 to 11. So I was coaching in the evening because now I closed my skills gap. Right? And after I've closed the skills gap, I realized that I love investing in real estate. I love breaking houses and making them nice for people to live in. And so over the weekends, I spend a whole lot of time building, right? I'm visiting places. Now my flats, visiting places literally to go and make them better for other people. And that's one of the things I love, right? So I realized that changed my life. Discover your ignorance. And I closed my gaps. That was the first thing I did. And I realized that money is 90%. It's 90% psychology and 10% optics.
Wait, is that why you call it a game?
It's a game. It is a game. The truth is, it's the game, Mr. Sivi. And most people don't understand that. Because if it's the game, it's got rules. If it's a game, if money is the game, it's got rules. And everybody that masters those rules will always win the money game. And that is the reason why all I've given my life to, my mission in this world is to make sure that I study the rules and I win all the time. I've never lost, right? I don't have a record of losing because I study the rules. And that's why I want to say to people, make sure that you understand the rules of the game you're playing if you want to win. And that's how I did it. So I wanted people to now learn from my own story. When I wrote this book, I wanted them to go learn what I did, what I put in play. Right? Yeah. What I put in play for me to be able to have the kind of life that I have financially. And that anyone, if it can happen from a C student from Thapelo, right? Anybody can do it. It's not really, there isn't any exception to it. If I did it, anyone could do it.
2004, 2005, you work in Spring.
Yes, sir.
As a teacher, right?
Yes, sir.
But something interesting you say happened there. You were not fulfilled. And I'm thinking, I'm like, why was he not fulfilled? Because he was a teacher and he had the audience, which is the life that you are living today. You're a coach, you have these people that you're teaching, and yeah, there's a transaction of knowledge, right? What is it that made you not fulfilled in that, context?
Oh, guys, I think first of all, you got to give this guy, his props, man. I'm telling you now,
Thank you so
you
much,
have got to get your props, man. It's such a, I love these questions. I love them. This is so profound, right? And this is the reason nobody has ever asked me that question. And I'm going to say it for the first time on this podcast. And I want you guys to understand this. It's important that many people, sometimes, they are unfulfilled, not on the basis of what they do, but on the basis of the meaning that has not been broken down for them. In other words, once you don't understand what you are doing, right? And the reason why because I did not have mentors at the time, right? The scale of what we were doing, right, with impacting children, with impacting their lives, that particular thing, nobody had taught me that. I had no meaning that I had when you look at me right now as a coach, as a mentor. Because had I known all of that, I would have known that could be scaled to the level it is right now. So I was not fulfilled, not because of what I did, but because the meaning, right? Because the meaning around what I did had not been broken down for me to understand yet, right? Mm-hmm. And so many people are doing great things, they're doing good things, right? But what happens is sometimes you need a mentor to go and to come to you and say, let me tell you what you were doing, because that's the part that is very, very important. So a story is told, right, about the McDonald's story. Everybody knows the McDonald's story. You've watched the story. You've watched it before. That the McDonald's that we know today, right? At some point, the owners believed that they were in the burger business. When they were not in the burger business, they were in the real estate business, right? Because sometimes the problem with many of us is that we find ourselves doing things and we go like, this is it, right? This is it. But it's not your business. It's not what you're doing. So until somebody breaks, the person that changed that scope, that particular thing for the McDonald's group was somebody that said, no, you are not in the burger business. You are in the real estate business, right? So that meaning, the change in meaning, changed the trajectory of that particular business.
And that could have been a mentor.
It could have been a mentor,
which you didn't have.
You know what I mean? So my problem earlier on was that I did not have mentors, right? I was working, and that's what's happening with many people. Many people are working, right? And what is happening is you're working for money, but you're not working for meaning.
What's the difference?
The difference between working for money, and it's really the difference between rich and wealthy, right? Rich people make a lot of money, but it does not necessarily mean that they're keeping a lot of it, right? I know a lot of people that are rich; they make more money than me, but they're not wealthier than me, right? Because what happens is, rich means you're making this whole lot of money, and it's coming at a very great cost to you, because you might not see your family, you might not go to any soccer games for your kids. You might not take your wife on dates and whatever. It's coming at a great cost to you. But wealthy people build systems, right? So guys like us have built systems that enabled us to have the flexibility to do whatever that we basically want, and we make money in our sleep. Why? Because it's not so much about how much money we made. It's about the systems that we've built, right? So I tell people all the time that when you work for money and you're not working for meaning, right? You are excited only on one day. You're excited when the money comes. But somebody that builds for meaning, every single morning, you arrive at your place of employment. You arrive at work, and what you're doing is, for a fact what you're doing. That's the difference between meaning. I'm working for meaning and working for money.
I love that so much, TJ. Let's go to this. Yamza andazi uba uzakwazi ungigqithisela amanzi and ngicela ungayithinta unbranded ne. I have 4 envelopes here.
Yes, sir.
And one is savings. 2 is giving. And 3 is spending. And 4 is investment. Now, this is what you teach your kids.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Why do you start here? Why do you? Okay, let's start with them logically. Which one do you have on top there?
Okay, I've got investments.
Okay, let's start with investment.
Yeah.
I saw them. I'm like, one was 6 when you did this video, and the other one 11, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I'm like, they already learn about investment.
Yes.
One, actually, you ask him, like, how much do you have?
Yeah.
And the younger one says, I have something like 300 and something. And the other one is like, I have 11.6.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, where's my 11.6?
Yeah.
11,600.
Yeah.
Why, TJ? Why do you do this?
Yeah. So my boys now, one is 14 and one is 8 now. Mm-hmm. You're right. The other one was 6 and the other one was about 11 or 12 when we started with this. Right. So what happened was, one of the things I do every single Sunday. Every Sunday, both my kids get the same amount of money. It's $50 each. Right? They get $50 each. Not for the chores, not for anything. It's not for like, they cleaned, they basically cleaned the room and whatever, right? Just for being born a Jonas, you've got 50 rand every single Sunday, every week. Yeah. And somebody will ask, why do you give your kids money for no reason? I say, right, everybody that you conscientize, right, into you getting this money for work, they're programmed to believe that you've got to work for money. And I don't want my kids to believe that you've got to work for money, right? Because it's really just the programming that we've moved from one generation to another, right? So what they do is, with that $50, I told them, right, that particular $50 that you get can only be divided by 4. And when you divide it by 4, it's 12 rand 50, right? It's 12 rand 50 when you divide it by 4. And how do you divide it by 4? So as your father, I can tell you right now, 12 rand 50 of that particular money, I don't care what you do with it. you put it in the spending envelope, right? It goes to the spending envelope. Mommy or daddy they will not comment about what you spend that money on. If you want to go buy sweets.
Can I stop you a little, because I want to put this to my audience. Now imagine, as you're watching, that you are that kid, and we have TJ here teaching us this. Put yourself in that in those shoes of that kid, because you are learning. So that 50 rand, it's your salary, it's the profit you're making in business, and then we can carry on that.
Yeah. So that's it. And I said, well, 12 and 15, I don't have a problem with what you do. You put it in the spending envelope, right? Whatever you do with it, that's your business, right? But I want another 12 and 50 literally to go into savings, right? So the 12 and 50 comes into the saving. What are we saving for? We don't save so that we don't save for whatever reason. We save because this is what we want to get at a later stage. So my kids love they're into Xbox and they're into all of those things. So they buy those kind of games with the money that they have. So they come to every December, they'll come to me and say, Daddy, we've got this amount. We want to buy this amount of V points and whatever. Right. So can you help us? And I ask them, how much do you have in your savings, right? They'll tell me, and then I match whatever that they have over there. So usually it's for, it's they defer. It's like something that I can't afford to buy right now with my 12 and 50. But if I can literally go save over time, I can be able to go and do that. So the 12 and 50 goes automatically every single week into the savings. And I said,
let me ask TJ, because when you give this envelopes to your kids, you're like, this is what we do here at Jonas' house.
Yes.
Do you also apply that as a family, like as a whole?
Yeah. So we apply this in our family, right? But where we are with my wife is at a higher level, and I'm going to tell people that story now, okay. And with regards to what we do, right? But with my kids, I wanted to start it really just at a very small, slow kind of scale, so that they can understand how it works, right? And every the other 12 and 50 has got to come into investment. Now, what goes into the investment? And most people don't know this, and this is something that's quite important. This is going to, by the time this shows up, right, you will see a lot of the stuff that I'll be putting out on social media about my new book, right? Who finances my new book? My kids, right? So my kids, right, what they do is everybody else gives me what they have in their investments for the printing of the book, right? For the publishing of the book, they basically give me that, and I've put a multiple to it. So in business, you will know. So if you give me, like 10 rand, I give you a multiplier like 5, for an example, and say I will return that, that 10 rand you've given me, as 50 rand.
Compound.
It's going to compound, right? So they get excited because I gave them the multiplier and said in the book, the sales of the book, right? Or because you've invested in that particular book, you're going to get the money you gave me times 5, right? It's a multiplier to just encourage them, for them to really understand. And that's really where the investment comes in. It's when you grow the money. And every single Sunday, when you were reading my bio, you said to the people that I'm a pastor, right? Every single Sunday, my kids take that 12 and 50 to church. They go give that 12 and 50, because the giving is really where the power lies. I tell people all the time, you can make all the money. The power is in making that money, but also being able to give it away. So I taught my kids that every single Sunday, the following Sunday, we go take this money, we're going to go give it away, right? And that's really what the 4 envelopes are, right? So the 4 envelopes has really been quite powerful. And those of you guys that have watched my stuff recently, you will know that when just after my kids were born, we bought both of them. Each of them we bought them a flat, right? We bought each of them with one exit plan, that we will sell that particular flat when they go to university. Obviously, the youngest one, right, has got more time than my eldest one is now started with high school, so he's going to grade 9 in the new year in 2026. My youngest one is going to grade 3, right? So what we've done is, when you speak about the 11,500 rand, it's really just 2 things that we wanted. We wanted them to have a real estate portfolio, and we wanted them to have a an equities portfolio. So we opened up an Alan Gray account, an Easy Equities account for the other one. So the reason why we have those is we wanted them to also grow, in the ETFs, those that know exchange traded funds, that the dividend paying stock. We also wanted them to grow in that. So I'm teaching my kids about money when they're very, very young. And my youngest, my 8-year-old, you should hear my 8-year-old speak about money. You will think you're listening to me, a mini version of me, speak on money, because it's the one thing that we are very, very passionate about. We speak about money every single week in our family. It's the most important topic.
You said, as the leaders of the house, you guys do it in a bigger scale. Can you please give me that?
So the scale. One of the things that we do, you guys have figured out right now that I'm a cheap guy, right? I really just love being frugal, right? And we tell people all the time that most people don't know, they don't believe it when I tell them. At one point, my wife and I lived on 60% of what we made, and saved 40%. We saved 40% of every single cent we made. We saved. Right. And why was that very important? That was
does the food change? Does the activities change on this 60%?
No. Right. Nothing really changes. Right. And that's the part that I think is also very, very important for men. When I speak to men all the time is, and they fight me when I tell them this, right? You want to work towards firing yourself in your own household. In other words, you want to be able to make enough money and create enough systems that everybody in that particular house can survive only on your salary. Your wife.
Okay, say that again.
Yeah. So you want to be able to get yourself at a place, right, where you are making enough, right, that the household depends on one household, one income.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
One income. Because the real growth now begins at that particular place. So I've always been obsessed about those kind of things. I've been obsessed about making enough that a whole lot of expenses in the house, right, can just, they can literally be on me, right, that I can free my wife to be able to go and say, right, so she'll save, invest money and whatever. But we do, one of the biggest things that we actually just do is we really believe in, in investing. So, and one of the vehicles that we really love is properties, right? And I think in 2021, 2022, we were buying one flat every 120 days.
Yeah.
Every 3 months. And that's how much we believe in.
So when you buy a flat, do you buy like the whole block or unit?
No, it's a two-bedroom flat.
Yeah.
The kind of flats that we buy, it's like 2-bedroom flats where we can put in 2 tenants. Mostly because we are in the student accommodation market. So it's 2 students, they'll share a bathroom and they'll share a kitchen, right? It's those kind of flats that would retail now for about now 550,000 rand in Bloemfontein where we live, right? So those are the kind of flats that we are buying close to universities, be the Central University of Technology, right, or the University of the Free State.
But I want to digress a little while you're still in there. I'm asking this one for my mentor. I told him that I actually interviewed. It's like an opportunity to get a free money advice. So yeah, he asked me if I can ask you, like, how do you deal with the challenges that are coming up with the change of systems in the universities? I think I heard something like the students now don't have to pay deposits.
Yeah.
And there are some things that are changed. I don't know if you have University of the Free State students. There are some policies that are changing from inside. Seems like the space is opening up for a different group of people.
Yeah.
He said I should pose that question for you if you're experiencing something.
Yeah. So not so much in the University of the Free State, because I'm now involved in the Central University of Technology. Right. Most of my students are basically from there. Right. Those challenges are there, and it's true. The truth is with the NSFAs and all of that. Yeah. Right. The truth, we cover a whole lot of expenses. And so in our instances, you'll have levies that needs to be paid, rates and taxes that needs to be paid. You've got to provide them with Wi-Fi. You've got to provide them with electricity. You've got to provide them with, so all of these expenses have got to be, they've got to be covered before you get paid, right? So what usually happens is you'll find that, the first tranche of money will come around May, June, but the students have been there from let's say Feb, so it would be Feb, March, and Feb, March, April. So the question is, so what a lot of landlords used to do, they would say to you, right, you pay a certain amount so that at least we can offset some of the costs that come in. So now the rules basically would now say, we're not allowed to ask for any monies from them until NSFAS is basically paid, because NSFAS essentially is their funder, right? So you've got to do the waiting as the landlord, for all of that money to basically come up. And I say this to answer the question that you have. When you've got 1 or 2 flats, it becomes okay. When you get to the volume that we have, right? When you get to the volume that we have, those costs become quite exorbitant. So that is why I tell people all the time, you can't get into that space when you're not liquid elsewhere, right? So what has helped me in terms of those challenges is because I have got businesses that are able to generate money, right? That I don't feel those kind of challenges. So to answer the question of your mentor, I don't have those problems. It's not the problems that I have, because I am big on liquidity, because I want to make sure that I can cover myself. So when that money comes, I get excited, right? Because it's really just the money that, that excites me at that point in time, but I'm able to cover those kind of costs. It's December, right now. So December, Jan, I'm busy, rehabbing the properties, the units now, right? Those costs, they're on you, right? And people are asking me like, okay, so why are you not putting some short rentals in there? Like, no, it's the time I use to fix my properties right now, right? I could put in people there, but I really, really just love the fact that I can, fix them around this time. I've got enough time to be able to sort out all of those kind of things. So, the money that I make in all the other property in all the other businesses enables me to provide me with liquidity, to not really have to worry while I'm waiting for the money to come from the university and from NSFAS a little bit later on.
Yeah. Can you give me the giving envelope? Giving. I want to bring a question on this one.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how you live this, but I have a question spared for that specifically. Just leading your life and your life of your family. Giving, I think you've given, I don't know for how much duration, but over 25 families every year.
From March 2020, right? From March 2020 until today, we've never skipped a month.
You've been just giving them monthly grocery?
Yes.
Bro, I know like this being generous, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like there's really a greater force that's like deepening in you. That's actually saying you gotta do it. You don't have to skip.
Yeah.
Like you can skip, right? You'd be like, oh, we're not good this month because of other priorities.
Yeah.
But you do it religiously.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know, what is it that is at stake? Like whether it's emotionally, psychologically, for you to actually do this.
Yeah. So most people are very casual and they don't understand it. I grew up in a house. I was raised by my grandmother, and I know for a fact. I really know for a fact. And as I grew a little bit older, I began to understand what a meal. Like just basically a meal. Those of us that if you grew up in Thapelo, you would know that we don't eat 3 meals. Like you don't eat breakfast, lunch, and supper. It doesn't work out like that. Right? What happens is you will eat when you come back from school. Right. When it's a Saturday, for example, you will eat in the morning. But there might not be food there at lunchtime. You might eat in the evening and things like that. Right. So what I'm trying to basically say is I know what it is. And most people don't understand that, because the problem is when you get to the level that I'm in right now, everybody thinks that I've always been like this. Right. It has always been like this. Right. And most people don't go do what you did right now. They don't go look at my background. They don't go look at where I started from. They don't look at those kind of things. So they think I don't know what poverty, I don't know what what that can do. So I'm saying I know. Right. And I know for a fact that if people don't have, my excitement this month, I was so excited because I went literally to every single family that we feed. Every single family that we feed. I wanted to literally just go there and say, this is our Christmas, Merry Christmas, have a beautiful one, and whatever. And that made me feel so good. Right. It made me feel so good, my friend, that I felt like this is what needs to this is what needs to happen. Right? It's easy to make money, right? But giving it away, right, is the most fulfilling part about that whole process.
Does giving it away make any impact on the on the size of money, or because I have uncle in Pumalanga. He's at your level too.
Sure.
But yeah, he hasn't funded any of my
Yeah,
don't look at me. Yeah, yes, I work myself to be here. So he told me well, what he funded is the ideas.
Yeah.
He would give me ideas for free. Amongst all the things, so I see him every year before I start a
Yeah.
year or when I close the year. I've seen him already for this year. He told me amongst the things that he would enforce on the lessons, he emphasized giving.
Yeah.
It's like even if you are at a point where you feel like, yeah, no, I cannot. He said, if you can make that transaction of giving,
Yeah.
then you have really done well for yourself. You
Yeah.
know? So when I see you giving like this, I've always been curious, like to know what it does to your money.
Yeah.
And if you can explain it, because well, there's a naive mindset that
Yeah.
can hear this and be like, okay, if I give, it means I'm gonna have more.
Yeah.
Do you know the science of
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
You can
yeah.
even go into the good book
Yeah.
if you want
Yeah.
to explain it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens is, and you're so right. And because I come from both worlds, I understand both. My family believes in tithe. We believe in tithing. In other words, the 10% of what we make, belongs to the Lord. We believe in tithing, right? We believe in tithing in the local church. It's something that is that's quite important to us. But one of the things that is important, and most people really don't understand this, right? From a psychological point of view, think about this now, Mr. Sylvia. When you give, the minute you give away money, right? And think about your state. Think about your state of mind, because you have got to really believe. You have got to believe that I am giving. In other words, because giving comes from strength, right? Giving comes from strength. So when I give, I believe. I'm so guaranteed. I am so convicted, right, that I can be able to make more. I'm really that convicted, right, that more can be made. And I think what is important, people really don't understand this, that every single time you're giving, you are making space. You're making space for more. My little brother, I've got a little brother, and I tell people all the time, he's very, very, like, is very naughty. He's got his own problems and that kind of stuff. But when he rocks up, right, these days he doesn't buy himself sneakers. He doesn't buy himself, because I really believe in having a whole lot of sneakers. I've got a weakness for sneakers. When my brother comes into my house and he takes all my clothes, my clothes, he takes my sneakers and whatever, and all of a sudden I look at my wardrobe and I'm like, oh, it's empty. I'm like, yes, it's empty now. What does it mean? It means now I have got room, to go and get more, right? And then I can go and get more. So I wait for him to come and get my sneakers. When he gets my sneakers, my little sister also came and picked up the sneakers now as well. When everybody gets stuff and my wardrobe is now empty, I'm like, yes, that means I now have got room to go and fill the spaces that are there. I love giving, man. I love giving, and I would encourage every single person to give. Being a giver, it's not and it's not just, I think it's not just from a biblical perspective, but from a psychological perspective, right? It's the most fulfilling thing, about money.
So I'm still trying to actually hook myself off from the trenches of poverty. I started this journey 2020. So there are a lot of things that I see on this way, and somewhere I'm like, this is so counterintuitive. And one of them was giving. Like I was like, it's crazy because you're giving, and it's like I see, because when you learn, what I loved and which you said on your book when you spoke, you said money is a game because there are rules, and one of the rules is actually knowing understanding how the game like of it plays, right? So now the responsibility after you see that is now to actually understanding all these rules that you put on. So I saw like giving as one of the things that were so counterintuitive. I came across the book of two books actually of Robert Kiyosaki, but I also went to watch his interview. He says something interesting. He said actually poor people are the most selfish people in this world. And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, you wrote like us the whole book. You giving people are like grocery, you giving a lot of things away. And to me, it sort of dawned on me that, oh, that's why you have so more. I don't know if one can do it blatantly that they give away. But I just want to pause there. And I appreciate you so much, TJ. First time I saw you, I think it was 2 years back. I saw the video where you were talking about money and how your money is affected by people that are within your proximity.
Yeah.
That was my hook, my
Oh,
bait.
yeah.
That was like,
Yeah.
I gotta check this guy. Who's this guy?
Hey.
So you have really educated a lot of us.
Sure.
We coming from a background where talking about money is not a fashionable thing to do.
Yeah.
And what I loved when I saw your book and even hear you speaking, I was like, he even coming from a church background.
Yeah.
That's not common in South Africa.
Yeah.
Most of the people that are actually in church,
Yeah.
or a noticeable percentage that are of people that are in church, are actually living on the other side of the economic class.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So hearing a man that's living in abundance and coming from a church background and coming from the problems that we actually relate with, running out of electricity, having to borrow 10 rand for 2 days electricity, So thank you so much for educating us.
Absolute pleasure, man.
This. I have second last question now. You and your family, this is your purpose.
Yeah.
You lead by example.
Yes, sir.
It was interesting to check this out, actually. So as a result, everything that you do, it gets duplicated, or it comes from your life, the life that you're living. I want to ask, where's this? I thought I might butcher this question, so I thought let me put it down.
Yeah.
Let me put it down. And I do like this purpose. I don't know how did it find you, or where did you find it? How's been the journey in living in living this purpose? You're living it in the public eye. I can only imagine the pressure, the trolls, but again the celebrations that comes with people when they like, yo, TJ, you really helped me.
Yeah.
So how's been the journey? Just unpack a little bit.
It's been scary, man. It's been scary. We're in December right now. Last year, this time I trended, right? I was trending like crazy over a plate of food that I posted. I posted a plate of food, and I made a joke, and over that plate of food, I'm not going to go back to it. And I received death threats because people thought and people said that I belittled the poor. Sure. I apologized. I literally apologized. And what I'm trying to say to you is last year, this time, I was literally making my ways to make sure that I leave Bloom, and we're going to Plet, and I wanted to leave earlier than we had planned, because I'm usually there every single year around this time. So what I'm trying to say, it's been one of the most difficult things. But I want to tell you why I do what I do. And this is the part that is important. You mentioned it right now. So important, because that's our purpose. Our purpose is to lead by example. I said this to my wife. The Bible says I think it's in Acts chapter number 4, when a man called Simon meets a crippled man by the beautiful gate, he says to him, silver and gold have we not, but such as we have, we shall give you. And this is the part, there's a part that he says over there, he says, look at us. Right. My biggest thing, my friend, is I never wanted, because you see, the problem with a lot of church folks, right, is that when you go read the story of a man called Daniel and his friends, it says, in matters of wisdom and understanding, they were found to be 10 times better than everyone. Right. When we look at people who call themselves Christians today, right, we're looking at people who are they're really just grappling with mediocrity. And I said, I want people to be able to look at us if they want a model of how a family should be. I want people to look at us if they want a model of how a business is run. I want people to look at us when they want to find out how, right, abundance is lived, how a life of a giver looks like. I wanted people to look at us, of how a typical family should be. And I'm saying this to say that look at us mantra, right? I'll probably put that on a match, in the next couple of months. But my bottom line is, look at us. I want people to look at us. I want you guys to look at me. I say, yes, you've met a lot of pastors that have disappointed you. They've looked like they've got stuff. Look at me, right? I know that you have met somebody else that's a brokey. They've met somebody that is broken. They want to tell you things. You can never take anybody to a place you've never been. Look at me, right? My biggest thing is look at me. I wanted people to look at me, right? And that particular mantra, that particular goal has superseded all the challenges the hate, the troll that I've gotten from social media, right? It's really just supersedes it. So sometimes we do things to our detriment, sometimes to the jeopardy of our own safety. Sometimes we do it because I want you guys to know this. For me, the made to win is not just a slogan I chant, right? It is a philosophy that I embrace. I created a coaching company around it. I wrote a book around it, right? Every single thing around my life says to you that you are programmed, right? You are engineered to win. You've just programmed yourself to fail, right? You are engineered to win. Everything about your engineering says you can win. It's your programming. It is your programming that has kept you in the doldrums of mediocrity for so long. You have got to understand it. The minute you figure it out that you are made to win, you will become an unstoppable force. And I will not stop until I activate you and I move you into a dimension that God has called you for.
Oh, thank you so much for that, TJ. Let's wrap it up. Gotta people look at this and like, oh yeah, this guy's with brown envelopes. No corruption this time. It's only education, eh? Let's go, TJ. I got a game.
Let's do it, man.
Okay, now we're taking it back where you started.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's do this. Number one, you started job and you are earning 10,000. If you were to do it again, because in the book, I remember there's where you reference that you were only making 8,500.
Yeah. Right? When I was in Kimberley, yes.
Yeah. If you had to do it again, how would you spend this money with this mind that you have in these shoes? So on this paper, it's written 10,000. You're making 10,000. And I know someone can relate with this amount. So as TJ, with this type of knowledge you have, how do you spend that 10,000?
Right. So this 10,000 rand, when you're making 10,000 rand, you've got no business in buying things like properties and things like that. This is the money that you have to invest in yourself. So what I do over here, right, I make sure that I keep my expenses to a bare minimum, right? So if I've got to rent like a room that I pay like 1,000 rand for, I'm fine. Living in that one room, right? But what happens is I now invest in skills, right? That could literally, so I'm learning digital marketing. I'm learning, copywriting. I'm learning podcasting. I'm really learning skills, right? That could literally, double that particular amount of money that I'm making. So this money over here, it's not the money you have to buy, anything else. It's literally where your expenses are. You've kept your expenses to a very, very low, kind of level, but you are investing in yourself. You're reading books, you're watching podcasts, you're learning skills, that could basically we call them high income skills. So you've got to be learning high income skills with this for you to become better. That's what I'm doing.
I love that. Okay. Now let's go to number 2. You're making anything between 15K and 30K. Now you have at least, got yourself promoted with whatever that you do. You're making 15K, and this is where I'm at. So you gotta go hard.
Yeah. So even at this particular place, I'm big on that. I'm big on what I've just said over here. But now with this, over here, I'm now doing something called house hacking. Right. So what I'm doing is if I'm buying with 30K, I can be able to buy a same thing like the 550 flat that I was talking about, the 2-bedroom flats if you're living in Bloemfontein, right? But I'm renting the one other room to someone else. I'm living in the other room. I'm renting the other room. I'm living in the other room. So now what happens is I've got a hard asset. So there's a property that I have over here that is generating cash flow, right? Literally to the point where I can make from this particular tenant the money to basically pay the bond, to basically pay that bond off. But I'm in this amount. It's still, people think it's a lot of money. It's still, you're still learning. You're still just basically investing in yourself. And I don't know, I'm telling you now, I know you guys are you're gonna fight with me. I'm telling you now, if you are in South Africa and you are making less than 100,000 rand a month, you've got a problem.
Have a problem in my hands, eh?
Yeah.
So this person is actually, so TJ at this level is making 15 to 30K. So if you are on that bracket, so the information he just said applies to you. what's your before I hand you another one? Like, what's your perspective or approach to debt? Like, what's your relationship with
Yeah. Oh, I have got. So people talk about risk aversion.
Yeah.
Right. I am risk prone. I'm the guy that loves debt. I love debt. I owe the bank millions and I sleep like a baby. Okay. I love debt. Right. I am conscientized differently where
Yeah.
debt is concerned. So I'm a Robert Kiyosaki guy.
Yeah.
Right. I am not a Dave Ramsey guy. I'm a Grant Cardone kind of guy. Right. Where debt is concerned, I really believe in property. So obviously financing of those kind of asset classes requires a lot of the bank's money, right? And we use the bank's money for for that. In business as well, you need the bank's money for that. So I love debt. I don't believe in debt for I don't believe in for consumption purposes. I really believe in debt for purchasing cash flow positive assets. That basically make more money for you. That's my philosophy and that's my perspective.
Is your philosophy inspired by the fact that you're in property? Because I'm going to list other asset classes. Okay, it's property, it's business, it's paper. What do you call this? Like the stocks.
Yeah, equity. It's the equities.
I forgot what they call that. And then number 4, it's why am I forgetting these things? But it's 4 of them, these asset classes. Do you think is it because the relationship you have with that or the philosophy? Is it because you're in property? Can someone take a debt and go maybe invest in shares?
Yeah. So I wouldn't advise it. The reason for that is because property is the only asset class, right? That has got a proven track record of hedging against inflation, right? What is inflation? For those of you guys that might not be familiar with this, I say this all the time, that interest is the price of money, right? But inflation is the cost of money. Okay, I'll break that down, right? So when I borrow you money, I forgo utility. So for me to forgo utility, you've got to compensate me for that. So you'll pay me interest, right? In as far as that is concerned, right? But for holding on to money, right, there's a cost of the cost of holding money, right? It's called inflation because so at a 6% inflation rate, for an example, that 100 rand that you had this year, next year this time, the value of that particular 100 rand, it's no more 100 rand. It's gone down a little bit. So what I'm trying to basically say is, once I take my money and I put it on property, right? I put it on a real estate, an asset like real estate, right? I hedge against inflation. Right? Why? Because property generally, appreciates in value, right? Because it appreciates in value, I can lock in my money in, basically in that. However, when I buy stock, for an example, as soon as I sell that particular stock, right, I invoke a tax event, right? So even though I might have like maybe a capital gains and whatever on the stock, but because I've triggered a tax event, right? So we don't buy properties to sell them. We buy properties to hold on to them, and they will generate cash flow for us, and we can basically give them over to our kids and our kids, right? So what I'm trying to basically say is, you are spot on as a property investor, right? As somebody that really believes in property and that specific asset class, right? My debt consciousness has got to be totally different, to somebody else that would want to take that money to go buy, stock, or they want to buy crypto, or they want to buy something else, right? We really just believe in real estate that much.
Yeah. No, I love that. As I'm going to this, Yamza, can you please fact check me for asset class? Just search on your Google there for asset class. I want to put it there as well, because I forgot the other 2. Okay, so this person is making 50K to 100K.
Yeah.
Now you are making 50K to 100K. How do you spend this money?
Yeah. So this one this is really where you begin to make money, right? You're making money. Now you're making money. So you're doing exactly the same thing. Number one, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are debt free at all times. In other words, you don't have like credit card debt and whatever, right? You've got an emergency fund. You build an emergency fund 3 to 6 months of your living expenses, right? You want to make sure that you've got an emergency fund of that amount, right? So if your living expenses are 10,000, for an example, you want to have at least 30,000 to 60,000 saved up in emergency for anything else that might pop up, right? Number 3, you want to live below your means. right? So in this amount you're basically paying you're married. I see it's written married, you've got 2 kids, right? The kids are in semi-private school, they're in a private school. That in itself, right? Just that in itself, in Bloemfontein, that basically works out to anything between 3 to 6,000 rand, right, per child. So you the bulk of that, so if it's 2 kids, about, let's say about 6,000 rand, 7,000 rand goes to school fees. At the lowest level, maybe 10,000 rand, 12,000 rand goes to school fees, right? Groceries, over the medical aid for the family of 4 would be about 10, let's say about 8 to 10 thousand rand, just medical aid, right? So if you look at this, it looks like it's a lot of money, but you want to make sure that you are bed debt free. You've got an emergency fund, right? You are living below your means, and you are buying positively positive cash flow positive assets on a continuous basis, be it properties, be it equities, like you're talking about right now. Right, you've got an account like an Easy Equities account where you're putting, a certain amount every single month towards, buying, ETFs, like exchange traded funds. You're buying dividend paying stock. You're basically buying crypto, for those of you guys that are into that, right? You're literally buying these kind of things, and that it's really how you are now starting to at least just but you're still middle class. You're still just still middle class, kind of level.
Okay, let's go to this one. And at this point, you are making 100 to 1 million. Well, I don't have a context for this one. Before you go, before you go,
I love your honesty, man. Yeah.
Before you go, Yamza, what are those classes? Yeah. Just give us.
Okay.
So it's equity, stocks, and it's bonds. I think this includes property.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you can search it on your own. Let me see, because I wanted to put this. Yeah, it's cash, fixed income. No, these are not the ones I'm looking for. It's fine. I think you can just search it on your own. 4 classes of wealth creation. I think you'll find the ones I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying usually have a context.
Yeah. So when you're at this particular level, you're living life on your terms, right? So the stuff that we're talking about, they're basically at the highest level, right? So what do I mean by that? I mean, you are bad debt free. So the kind of debts you have over here, that debts that service, this is the debt that services your bonds. Now you are now servicing those rental properties. You are now at a level where your kids are in good schools. You are able to travel overseas. One or 2 international trips. You are able to take 2 or 3 domestic vacations. You're living, right? You are basically living life. You're putting money aside for your kids college. You're putting you're investing. You're really just investing. So for me, this is actually where everybody else should be.
No, I love that so much. I'm going to close this. Yamza, do you have any question from everything we spoke about for TJ? No. Okay, no. Thanks, my boy. So TJ, 2026 is a new year, and surely people are looking forward to that year. What is it that an individual who feel like they are not progressive or things are not going on their way, what is it that they can maybe, I know like this might need specifics, right, for you to nail on. I guess the message that I'm hoping these people hear is the message you spoke about one of the times, that people should continue to be in pursuit. I'm hoping to they hear that. Judges chapter 8 verse 4. I do have an audience that's I think I do have an audience that's tired. We pursue things. And I think you can come in there for 2026. Let's prepare them. Like what is it that they can focus on? Okay, let me put myself in as a scenario here. So this year I've achieved a lot of I think about 70% of my goals. One of them was the book, and the other one was to buy 2 motorcycles because I'm in the motorcycle business, renting them out, right? And then the other one was to actually go to Tanzania. I believe so much in your philosophy,
Sure.
seeing the places,
Yeah,
different places,
yeah.
right? So I wanted to go there. I didn't go to Tanzania, and I wanted to buy a car. I bought one, but it got into an accident
Sure.
recently. They stole one of the bikes. I mean, I have the other bike, so I'm left with about two bikes,
Yeah.
right? They stole the other bike. So my goals came true, but it seems like I'm not making the progress that
Yeah.
I had expected,
Yeah.
And in terms of money, I had I'm worth when I check my score, because you said you should check the
Yeah.
score,
Credit
right?
score.
Yeah, it's within 50 to 120. With all some of the things that happened actually decreased.
Okay.
So, like I said, I've been on this journey since 2020. I'm financially right now, I'm worth more than when I started,
Yeah.
but I still feel like things are going at a slow motion.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for all the things that God has been doing for me, even saving the life in that accident,
Yeah.
but I know there are many people like me. Some people, they just graduated, they don't have a job.
Yeah.
Some people, they got a job, but they feel like they're not making financial progress as they thought they would.
Yeah.
Talk to us.
Yeah. So you've just mentioned something right now that's so profound. I've been one of the scriptures that I love is found in Judges chapter number 8, verse number 4. The Bible says that a man called Gideon and 300 men arrive, in the river Jordan. And this is what the scriptures uses. This language is very important. They're exhausted, but they're still in pursuit of the Midianites. And what Mr. Steve is asking me to do now is to speak to somebody that is exhausted, but still in pursuit. And I want to tell you, my friend, that failure is the price of greatness. I want to tell you this because it's something that is quite important, right? There is a tuition fee. I have attended school. You have attended school. It is only in it's in worlds you cannot imagine where you don't pay school fees. Everybody pays school fees, right? And sometimes we assume, right, that the school fees are hurdles. We're thinking that we're gonna stop. So what you're talking about is the hurdles of success. It's the story that you must tell, right? When you get to the top, because when you get to the top and you don't have a story, again, because we are societal beings. When you arrive there, you don't arrive there for yourself. You arrive on top and you must be able to go and say, right, I remember the time when I had two bikes and somebody stole the other one. My car that I just bought got involved in an accident. That's the story that people want to hear, right? It reflects, it speaks to the grit, it speaks to the strength, it speaks to the character, of the stuff that you've gone through. And I'm saying this to somebody that's watching us right now. In 2026, number one, make sure that you find a mentor. Find somebody in your life that embodies everything you want. And whatever it is that person says, you must do. Whatever they want, whether it is money, whether it is serving them, make sure that you serve them. Everybody, the quickest way to get to a place you've never been is to find somebody that has got the things that you want. That particular thing will catapult your life like you've never seen. Find a mentor. Number two, this is something that is quite important. Right? Develop something called journaling. Make sure that you write things down. Don't be that person. Don't be the person that that believes that I've got a strong memory. Right? So I believe in a shorter pen. They speak about the shorter pen and a longer memory. I'm the guy that believes in writing. Write it down. Right? Write your goals and write them in the present tense like they're already done. If you want to make 100,000 rand a month, say I make 100,000 rand every single month. And if there's a knot that comes here when you say it, right, like what's happening, you don't believe it. I want you to be able to ask yourself this question to say, what beliefs must I hold? What beliefs must I hold for me to be the person that earns that amount of money, right? And then you go deal with those particular belief systems. So I'm saying to you, find a mentor, number one, right? Begin to journal. In other words, write your goals and write them in the present tense like they're already done. Right? Go and look at your limiting beliefs, the beliefs that are holding you at the same place. The people that believe that they're not made for money, that believe that they're not designed to prosper, that they believe that certain lives are not designed for them. I want you to decide today that I am that guy. I'm the guy that will make 1 million rand a month. I am that guy, that will make 10 million rands a month. I'm that guy, right? It might not have been done in my family, but I'm going to be that guy. I want you to be able to change your beliefs, right? So begin to challenge your own limiting beliefs about where you are. Number 4, and this is important, and I want you guys to understand this because this is key. Get yourself to a place where you understand that money is 90% psychology and it's 10% optics. What do I mean by that? Right? So understand that it's all in the mind. Fix your mindset, right? You've got to find somebody who can teach you, how to think differently. Go fix your mindset every single day. Read 15 pages of a book every single day. Even to this day, people don't understand this. In the past 4 or 5 years, I've read 350 books on the subject that spends money, right? We talk psycho-cybernetics, the psychology of money. Every single thing you can think of, in as far as that particular subject is concerned, I've studied it. I want you to go study 15 pages of a book every single day, right? Fix your mindset, become somebody that is totally different. I grew up in Thapelo. I was an ordinary boy until I discovered the book. The 5 things that will change your life. Every single person is a product of 5 things. Number 1, you are the books that you've read. You are the places you've been to. You are the people that you've met. You are the habits you have adopted. And you are the conversations that you've had. I will say it again. You are the books you've read. You are the places you've been to. You are the people you've met, the habits you have adopted, and you are the conversations you've had. Let's speak about habits. I'm telling you now, you don't rise to the height of your goals. You only fall to the systems of your discipline, the systems of your discipline or your habits. And I'm saying this: if I want to know if you're going to go far, I'm going to go look at your habits. Have the reading habit every single day. Take care of your health. I'm telling you, take care of your health. Those of you guys that are not take care of your health, right? Because health is the ultimate wealth. I'm Coach TJ. I'm gonna holler at you guys in the next one.
Thank you so much, Coach TJ. That's you. Like, I don't know. These guys are supposed to pay how much a month to hear this?
Yeah. So yeah, that's our mentorship program. In fact, I've got the closing date today. For the people that are starting with me in the new year. It's 750 every single month that they're paying. Right today, you can't get me on one-on-one because that one-on-one today cost about 10,000 rand just to spend an hour with me. But I'm literally now into group mentorship. That's what we're doing right now. I'm so excited about it, and I can't wait to have my mentees in the new year.
No, thank you so much, TJ. I'll put your email on the description if you want to, they want to consult about that. I hope it's never too late when you find out about this. And I wanted to get to something quickly. I saw the study of the marshmallow.
Yeah.
I'm hoping one day we get to have time, but I'll put these questions in the future, right? I want us to talk about the study, the delay gratification. I want us to embark on that, like, to go deep on that, right? And I also want us to talk about these gaps in details, talk about skills,
academics,
and
relationship.
I love that. And you on that marshmallow thing, you spoke about people settling for less.
Yeah.
It's one of the factors they never win the game, right? I want us to go in that. But for now, let's pause our horses right here. I want to say thank you. I feel like, or maybe let me put this as an analogy. I feel like you're Mansa Musa. You're going in these communities, dropping the gold. Thank you for passing in this community as well and dropping this gold. I promise you will put into use very effectively.
Yes, sir.
Wrapping up question. Asvai, when I started this, I was of a thought that we are all moving in this world. We're all going somewhere.
Yeah.
We're all going somewhere. There are people that have walked towards certain destination. Some arrived, some didn't arrive, but we're working towards something. When you arrive at your destination, what do you want to say about yourself? What do you want us to say? What do you hope your family is going to say? So 3 things. What do you want to say when you get there? What do you want your family to say? What do you hope they say when you have arrived there? And what do you hope as the community that have looked at you? Trolls, celebrating, all this. What do you hope like our conclusion becomes?
Yeah. So I wanna answer them just from the other way to the other. So I want to get to a place where my community will say they left a blueprint amongst us. There was a blueprint and we ignored it. Right? We ignored that particular blueprint. Right? And I'm hoping that I'm not saying anything else on this podcast here because I see a lot of people, say certain things and something happens to them. And I'm praying that I live long, to be able to say all of these things. But I'm telling you now, I wanna I wanted people to be able to say there was a blueprint, right? A blueprint for family, a blueprint for business, a blueprint for ministry, a blueprint, for a dad, a blueprint, for a husband, and that particular blueprint lived amongst us, and we ignored it, or we literally took it upon ourselves to, to emulate it, and we became it. That's that, right? I want my family to to basically look at me, and be able to say, what a man, right? What a man. The legacy that I want, so my family should not only be proud that I came from the loins, but I want my family to be able to look at me and say, man, oh man, oh man, oh man, right? What has come, out of, I must become a person, an example that is used when, the younger cousins, younger generations, come and they say, look at your brother, look at your cousin, look at that particular person, right? And for me, and this is the thing that is important. I want to get to, you call it the destination. I want to get to heaven someday, and I don't have any regrets. I want to get to heaven, and I want to look back and say, and when God says, well done, I'm faithful servant, I want to be able to look back and say, I don't have any regrets. I did everything right. I've traveled the world. I have, I've impacted my family. I have impacted my society, my generation, and then we hear when the Bible speaks about a man called David in the book of Acts. The Bible says that when David had served his generation, he went to be with the Lord. I only want to go and be with the Lord when I've served this generation and I've served it fully.
Oh, thank you so much, Sir, for honoring our invitation.
Absolute pleasure,
All right.
man.
Okay, we're done. We did it.